Recording in progress.
Good morning, everyone. I see we have a number of attendees who are joining in progress, so we'll just give it another minute before we get started.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, can you start?
Sir, it's getting started. It's a countdown
Okay.
in 10 seconds. Susan, Mr. Nirmal Jain is there.
You're on mute.
Yes, no, I see. I was just checking to see if our Vice President for Private Sector has joined also, as we will be kicking off shortly, and he will be our first speaker. Don't know if we just might do the technical check with VP Lavasa. Please, if someone from the Gravity Concept side could send him a personal link. Perhaps what we might do also in the interest of time, because we have a lot of material to cover this morning in a short period of time, and I know a lot of participants have already joined. If we need to sort out any technical issues on the VP Lavasa's side, we may switch the order of the speakers. So for now, I'll kick it off. I wanted to welcome everybody. My name is Susan Olsen. I'm a senior investment specialist in ADB's private sector operations divisions on the financial institution side. I know it's early on a Monday morning to be having a ceremony, especially in India, but we're very pleased that you could join us for the occasion. What we're honoring today is formally the signing and disbursement of a $68 million loan, or the equivalent in Indian rupee of a $68 million loan from ADB's private sector operations to IIFL Home Finance. But what I'm really glad you'll also have the opportunity to hear a bit about today are some highlights from the 1 million technical assistance project that's underway in parallel to the loan and in partnership with IIFL Home Finance as a technical partner to take advantage of the incredible leadership that IIFL Home Finance has displayed in the green certified affordable housing market and build on that momentum, try to move the market in India and the ecosystem built out a little bit further so that there's more awareness of the need, more ability to address both the housing deficit in the affordable housing segment and do it in a way that's conscious of the need to address and mitigate climate risks, particularly mitigation and adaptation risks, by working with many key stakeholders, developers for the housing projects and the financiers, of course, but also academics and policymakers. So the loan and the technical assistance, or TA as we call it in ADB parlance, together are really forming more of a partnership than just a project or a loan. And because this program or partnership is multifaceted, we're very fortunate today to have representatives from a wide range of stakeholders who've played a key role in making this project happen. First and foremost, we're here to celebrate our client's business model. So we thank Mr. Monuratra and his very capable team from IIFL Home Finance. Joining us today also are the co-founders of the IIFL Finance Group, the parent company of IIFL Home Finance, Mr. Jain, Mr. Nirmal Jain, and Venkatraman. I don't know if Venkatraman's also joined, but we welcome you. And we're honored to have dignitaries from the Government of India through ADB's Executive Director's Office, as well as representatives from the governments of Canada and the United Kingdom, without whose role as funders and donors for this project, we wouldn't be able to achieve some of the activities and the program success that we're seeking to strive for. We're, of course, joined by the highest level officials from ADB's private sector operations and from our resident mission in India, and I will introduce each of them in turn. But last and certainly not least, I wanted to recognize also the participation today of many colleagues from ADB on the project team. If you see the list of attendees from the ADB side, you will see and recognize that it takes many sector experts, many different kinds of expertise to put together a project and get it to this last mile of disbursement. So we're really glad that you could join today also and hear a little bit more firsthand from the project, from the company especially, and a little bit more about the technical assistance activities that are going on in parallel. I will just mention two housekeeping matters. So this is a Zoom webinar, which means that only the speakers have the ability to unmute. If there are any questions or comments from participants that come up, particularly as we get into the more technical content in the agenda, you could just put those in the chat and we'll try and address those. And we are, just for your information, we are recording the webinar for posterity. So without further ado, let us get started. I just need some help from the technical team to see if we have VP Lavasa online. If not, I would ask Rana Hassan, perhaps if you could make your comments. Rana is regional economist for ADB's South Asia department. He's representing ADB's resident mission in India today. I know that urban development, housing are important priorities. It's an important sector of work for ADB in India. So we look forward to your comments and putting this project into the perspective of ADB's overall priorities and programming in India. Thanks, Rana.
Thank you very much, Susan. Dear IIFL and ADB teams, representatives from the Government of Britain, Canada, and India, colleagues and friends, on behalf of the Country Director and representative of ADB's resident mission in India, Mr. Takio Konishi, I'm very enthused to see this important project come into ADB's portfolio in India. ADB's operations are guided by an agreed upon country partnership strategy with our host governments. And in the case of India, we have prioritized ADB's work in the country under three core pillars: boosting economic competitiveness to create more and better jobs, inclusive provision of infrastructure networks and services, and addressing climate change and increasingly climate resilience. We feel this project is unique in that it focuses on each of these priority pillars for the CPS. First, we can consider that IIFL Home Finance plans to devote 100% of the loan proceeds for mortgage financing directed at women borrowers and co-borrowers in the economically weaker sections and low-income groups is an excellent example of how private sector companies can contribute to Pillar 2 under our CPS. That's the inclusive provision pillar. Moreover, the transaction aligns with what we call Pillar 3, the Addressing Climate Change and Improving Climate Resilience pillar. And finally, we know that housing is a key element to making urban agglomerations and even big rural agglomerations work well as labor markets. In that way, this transaction also contributes to the competitiveness pillar. We're pleased to see that ADB funding, including the grant and concessional resources entrusted from the governments of Canada and Britain, will be deployed to support IIFL's home finance for the expansion of both the supply of green certified affordable housing for qualified developers and also to increase effective demand on the end user side by making funding available for buyers of the green certified affordable housing units. We note that the IIFL Home Finance is one of the leading housing finance companies to administer the credit-linked subsidy scheme. One of the key benefits under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana program launched by the Government of India to prioritize much needed support to enable access to housing loans for the lower income segments. In the last financial year, ADB significantly enhanced its sovereign lending efforts to affordable housing sector. ADB approved a $700 million policy-based loan under 2 sub-programs to the urban sector in India, which also included policies and programs for providing rental housing to urban migrant and industrial workers, working women, and the poor under the PM Awas Yojana. ADB approved another $150 million loan to provide access to inclusive, resilient, and sustainable housing for the urban poor in Tamil Nadu. This project will also support Tamil Nadu Shelter Fund by piloting a PPP structure to provide affordable housing to industrial and migrant workers in women's hostels. ADB approved a project in Bhutan for green and resilient affordable housing to benefit about 1,000 lower to middle income civil and non-civil servants, including marginalized municipal waste workers. We're delighted to partner with IIFL Home Finance for this project, which is a unique role model that we hope inspires more companies to integrate climate resilient design and green certifications into their affordable housing solutions. We also look forward to learning more about the findings and research outcomes from the technical assistance activities being led by the expert team of consultants at CEPT, which will surely generate some important recommendations that can lead for further programming at ADB, in particular as they may relate to the mapping of policies and opportunities to enhance support for key stakeholders at national and state levels. ADB remains committed to working together as a One ADB team to coordinate holistic solutions that contribute to the development of India. And we will continue to work on programs that provide more access to more green, affordable housing in India, both through our public sector solutions and through the work of our private sector operations support for individual companies. I look forward to its implementation and further strengthening of this important partnership in the months to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rana. Thank you very much. I think we have VP Lavasa online now. I hope everything is working on the technical side. So I did want to go back to the original order of the agenda. VP, if you're able to join us. Ashok Kawas is a Vice President for Private Sector and Public-Private Operations at ADB. But I know, VP Lavasa, before you joined ADB, you had nearly 4 decades of experience with policy and programs in India, including in the finance and environmental climate change sectors. I also came to learn that you led India's delegation to negotiate the Paris Agreement at COP21. So you have some very special insights into policy matters and climate change matters as relates to India. So we thank you for joining us today and look forward to your comments. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Susan. Good morning, everyone. First of all, my apologies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Because of some technical glitch, it took me a while to join. Although I was able to hear whatever was going on, I think my camera could not be switched on, but I'm glad I'm here. And on behalf of ADB, I'm extremely honored to join the signing ceremony for ADB's loan to IIFL Home Finance Limited in India. Like so many events these days, we have to sign virtually, but I'm certainly looking forward to witnessing the implementation of this important housing project on the ground in India in the near future. We are very pleased to be partnering with IIFL Home Finance. This $68 million loan package from ADB's private sector operations demonstrates how the private sector can take leadership in serving the segments of the population most affected by the pandemic's economic fallout. The lower income and economically disadvantaged segments and women. We also applaud the work of a private sector company playing a lead role in providing access to affordable housing, as is the case for IIFL Home Finance. One of the most important aspects of development that can improve quality of life and access to better economic prospects is having an affordable home. Millions of people in Asia, we know, however, do not have access to adequate shelter. Of course, as the COVID-19 pandemic has taught us, the need to have adequate housing during community lockdowns or to self-isolate and socially distance has become even more important. We know that in India, the housing deficit is vast, estimated at 18.7 million units in urban areas and 43.7 million units in rural areas. More than 90% of this deficit is in the lower segment. By working with the private sector companies like IIFL Home Finance to bridge the affordable housing gap, we can start to address some of these market gaps. And as Rana pointed out, that this is one of the priorities of the government of India, and ADB is delighted to be associated in this important task. We celebrate the fact that this is the first financing transaction closed between housing finance subsidiary of IIFL Finance Group and a development financial institution such as ADB. In this case, both institutions share many development objectives. First, of providing greater financial inclusion through access to housing finance for the low-income segments, often for their first home purchase. Second, by promoting gender equality, both in providing access to formal financial services for women borrowers, but also in promoting gender equity internally within the company. And last, that of promoting climate change mitigation and climate resilience throughout the value chain of its business activities. We commend IIFL Housing Finance for its tremendous leadership in all of these development areas and look forward to hearing more about IIFL's work on financial inclusion, gender, and climate finance during the ceremony as we support them in their pursuit of these shared development goals. ADB is also excited that this project with IIFL Home Finance allows us the opportunity to offer our clients the support of important and very valued contributions from our co-financing partners and donors, and whom we are honored to have with us today. We extend our sincere appreciation and gratitude to both the governments of the United Kingdom and Canada for your funding support that enables ADB to catalyze important private sector projects in our developing member countries, such as the one that we are celebrating today. To you, Mr. Ratra, CEO of IIFL Home Finance Limited, and Mr. Jain, Chairman and founder of the IIFL Finance Group, dignitaries from the Government of Canada and from the Government of UK, I thank you for joining today as we recognize the important work being done by our private sector clients in India. And to my colleagues at ADB and the members of the entire ADB team who work together to bring forward this project, congratulations on reaching this important milestone. I once again thank you for making me a part of this occasion, and thank you all for joining the signing ceremony today. Thank you. Over to Susan.
Thank you very much, VP Lavasa. I'd now like to introduce Ms. Amanda Strohan. Amanda is the Deputy High Commissioner of Canada, appointed to India. She, prior to that role, served as Minister Counselor, also at the High Commission. of Canada in India, New Delhi. And she's had a very long, distinguished career with the Canadian Foreign Service. Amanda, as VP Lavazza mentioned, it's thanks to the Government of Canada that ADB manages the Canadian Climate Fund for the private sector in Asia. So it's thanks to your funding that we're able to provide the concessional loan support to IIFL's builder community and incentivize them to create more supply of green certified housing units. So thank you for the support. We look forward to your comments. And I just might add one note that we're also very pleased that this is the first project that was able to qualify as a climate adaptation project in ADB's private sector operations using CFPS. Over to you, Amanda.
Good morning. Thank you, Susan. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests. First, let me say what an honor it is to be here today for this very important occasion. This really underscores the significance of Canada's bilateral relations with India in support of the country's sustainable development goals in collaboration with key partners like Asian Development Bank and IIFL. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be here with you today. Canada and India have a long-standing history of bilateral relations, and they're based on a shared tradition of democracy, pluralism, and strong person-to-person connections. And beyond our trade and investment connections, both of our countries are committed to working together to secure a clean energy future and address global climate change. And these joint priorities have been reaffirmed by our respective prime ministers. And climate change, of course, is one of the biggest challenges of our time. And we've all seen the devastating impacts of extreme weather events in this country. And we know that climate change exacerbates the intensity of these types of weather events. To make meaningful progress towards the Paris Agreement and the goal of limiting warming to 1.5 degrees, we need to have concrete and immediate action to lower the global carbon footprint, but at the same time to help local communities manage the impacts of climate change. In June of last year, Canada announced a doubling of our climate financing program to $5.3 billion, aimed at supporting developing countries, and particularly the poorest and most vulnerable, as they transition to low carbon, climate resilient economies. Through our climate finance program, we're working with public, non-government, and private sectors to mobilize funds in support of the climate transition and adaptation projects that are aligned with our feminist international assistance policy. And we're working through multilateral mechanisms such as the ADB to live up to our international commitments to extend this type of climate financing to projects in countries like India in order to support them in achieving their sustainable development goals. Other key sectors that we support in global affairs through multilateral funding include sustainable economic development, treatment of infectious diseases, and nutrition. The ADB has been an important partner for Canada in the fight against climate change in Asia and the Pacific. We've been on this journey together since 2013, when we first established the first phase of the Canadian Climate Fund for the Private Sector in Asia, or the CFPS, which is aimed at catalyzing private sector investment in climate change mitigation and adaptation across Asia and the Pacific, in order to help countries reduce their carbon footprint and increase climate resilience. The CFPF provides loans with concessionary terms, as well as technical assistance grants in support of increasing renewable energy and energy efficiency, urban infrastructure, sustainable transport, and other climate smart projects. We're very proud to be working with the ADB to launch the IIFL Access to Affordable Green Housing for Women project, which will improve financial access to affordable green housing for lower income women borrowers in India. This project will have a measurable impact, not only by providing equitable access to affordable green certified buildings in the country, but also through its demonstration effect of enabling an increased market awareness for green construction in India. Again, I just want to say that I'm really delighted to be here, and Canada is delighted to take part in this signing ceremony, and we'd like to congratulate all of the parties involved in the design and the rollout of this very impactful project.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I'd like to turn it over and formally introduce now Mr. Monu Ratra, the CEO and Managing Director of IIFL Home Finance. Monu, I want to give every second to you to be able to tell the story of your vision. It's really thanks to your leadership that IIFL Home Finance has taken on the greater challenge of not only running a business model that provides mortgages and home loans to low-income segments in India, but you've really done well more, a lot more than any private sector company would normally undertake to try and change the market mindset, build more awareness of the need to build green and affordable in the Indian housing ecosystem through the Kutum platform. I came to know also in the course of the many months that we've been working together that you are an architect by training. So that's a very interesting perspective to have when you're doing affordable housing finance. Over to you, Mono, and look forward to hearing more of your story. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. Thank you so much. Mr. Lavasa and the other ADB dignitaries, officials from the UK government, officials from the Canadian government, and Mr. Jain, under whose leadership and guidance we have achieved this journey, and other of my IIFL colleagues who have made this into a reality. Affordable housing in India, as Mr. Lavasa said, has various challenges. And when we set out to scale up our affordable housing business, we had some things in front of us. Affordable housing has had an issue with the lack of finance available to the EWS-LIG. It has the 95% of the Indian population is in the informal sector. So the products are not available for people to avail finance. Reach is very difficult. It's a vast country, and a lot of institutions lack the ability to reach out to the masses where they have to. Affordability has been another concern that who need, as Mr. Lavasa mentioned, over 90% of the people who need housing are in the EWS and LIG sector. There was no consequence of any gender equality in housing. And obviously, last but not the least, sustainable was meant for the only elitist. So this was the kind of I would say, the canvas available to us when we set out on this journey. And we have tried to address each of these things in our own little way. I would say that we are just a small part of this gigantic opportunity or the disparity which exists out there, but we have done our bit. I'd just like to share some of our aspects, how we have addressed each of these issues. We decided that we are going to be an affordable housing player, which means is that within housing, more than 95% of our funding goes towards only EWS-LIG segment. We are just catering to the masses. That's the first strategy we set out to do. Then we have been a very highly tech-enabled HFC, and that has also been made possible because we have a captive team. IIFL as a group has always remained, I would say, digital ahead with reference to any kind of businesses they have built over the years. And this wasn't any different at all. So we have created a fintech platform, which is the first in the country, I can say, where 100% of our loans are digitally onboarded and decisioned. So it allows a tremendous reach to our business model, which was another answer which had to be done. Then we came up with customized products for financial inclusion, because in India, as I said, 95% of the people who need housing form part of the informal sector. So the availability of a business model or products to make them part of avail this loan has not been easy. So we have customized product to ensure that they also get part of this. On affordability, I'm happy to say that we have funded over 50,000 customers under the credit link subsidy scheme of the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. We must be amongst the top 5 financial institutions across banks and HFCs, which has been able to give subsidy to over 50,000 people worth over 1,200 crores. So that has enabled that the affordability also comes into play. And also, last but not the least, whatever housing loans we have given, more than 65% of the people have a woman co-ownership of house, which in India is a very, very big factor of bringing about gender equality over the years. However, whenever we have been going about doing this, achieving this facet of success in all these factors, we have ensured that we have remained financially very prudent and also ensured that we have the best-in-class financial ratios as well. Because if you want to make a difference, you have to remain financially sustainable and highly profitable as well. And we haven't lacked on that as well. So that also has been a very interesting combination of sorts. Because I think a lot of housing finance companies have stayed away from this is because of the fact that they could not make a very financially feasible model out of this kind of a focused approach. Now coming to our endeavor, which we have been doing on green affordable housing, this has been over 4 to 5 years now since we analyzed this whole market in the affordable, sustainable segment, and we saw that there was no work being done there. We went on the drawing board and we found out what really are the issues there, and we tried to address all of them. So the first issue was imparting the knowledge. That was the first issue we felt was very much there, not catered to at all. The second issue we found was about execution. Even if somebody was aware, he didn't know how to do it. The third issue we found over there was policy alignment. That means the government policies, that means the certification agencies. There was a total lack of that. And we have tried to address all three of them. As Susan mentioned about our Kutum initiative, so the first aspect about knowledge, we catered through that. So far, we have done 7 Kutum programs where we have the affordable developers of the various parts of our country come in there. On this platform, we have covered the 4 facets, which is important there. We have brought in an element of design, that how do you, imparting knowledge to the developers, that how do you design these projects? It is not very difficult. Break down those myths about that it's very technically difficult, or is it financially so painful that you should not be going ahead with that? Second element which we talk about is certification process. We have been collaborating, and happy to say that Susan also attended one of our first Kutums as well, wherein we have been inviting all the certification entities, whether it has been Edge of IFC, whether it has been Greha or IGBC, to come and talk about it on this platform so that they can exhibit how this whole thing is done. And I think they have also got feedback of how they need to align the this endeavor of making it more affordable, sustainable as well. The third element, which was at the policy framework, we also created a platform which is called Purpose, where all the leading minds come together to discuss what could be the feedback which could be given to the state level authorities or could be given to the central government authorities to make a difference. So I think so far also to make this execution into a reality, we formulated a green value partner group. I think we would be the only housing finance company which has over 16 dedicated people who are green certified, technical people who are spread across the country, who educate the developers to get them to sign up for green certification. And in the life cycle of the entire project, we stay with them to ensure that they get the final certification as well. So this is a very unique approach which we have adopted, being a housing finance, to take it forward. But we see that it very much complements to the whole thing, because I think in today's time, it's not about just the shareholder value. I think the impact you make on the society and overall as a stakeholder stands out. And just to sum it up and how we see this vision of ours, I think we will continue to be restless, and we will continue to innovate on technology side to take it forward. We see there's a lot of work and to enhance reach. We are scaling up our branches, especially in tier 3, tier 4 towns in the next few years. And you will see that count multiplying manifold so that we can reach out to the masses where we want to reach. And as I said, which I heard from Mr. Lavasa as well and Mr. Rana Hassan as well, I think the goals of ADB and what we are trying to do are very aligned. And it's almost akin to whatever we have to do. Currently, if you see, there are some challenges in sustainable, affordable housing, especially is the self-construction, which is a vast majority of housing which gets constructed in India, which is still uncovered under this. And we are trying to take it up as a challenge to see that how we can penetrate on the forward-led construction and take it to the next level. We are also making some serious efforts to work with the various state governments to see that how we can, because government is one of a vast provider of affordable housing, and how can they play this out. Finally, on the ADB side, I think it's been a bit of a long journey, maybe because of the COVID coming in between, but I think both sides have been persistent and ensured that we brought this to fruition of what endeavor we started a few years back. And I think I'm pretty excited about this. And again, I feel more excited because this climate adaptation facility, which has come with the support of the Canadian government, really makes us very excited. It might be a small amount, but it can create such evidence out there in the market that this is possible and this can happen. I'm sure there's a lot of learning we will have to continue to do, but we are very, very excited about it being the first in the country for this kind of a facility to come by. And the initial facility of $58 million, which is very much aligned to whatever we naturally do. So we are very confident that we'll be making very good use of this going forward. And I think this ADB collaboration so far has also made us sensitive to a lot of learning, and we have got from ADB. And I think there's an education which we think will be part of our journey going forward, and to spread the length and breadth of the organization. Not only we do outside as well. You would be happy to hear we also published our first sustainability report last year, and our ESG policy and framework is out there within the organization, every department of our group. So I think we are out there to ensure that together we can make a very big difference into housing for all opportunity and the kind of gap, and have a more inclusionary growth, which is so essential for the well-being of any country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Monu. It's a long journey to try to summarize in so few minutes, I know. But I also know that the IIFL team, together with Gravity Concepts, who's running the knowledge sharing activities to support you, has put together a video to bring some additional perspective on issues and facts in the green affordable housing market. So if we could have the video on now, please.
Asian Development Bank and IIFL Home Finance Limited join hands to promote green affordable housing in India. India, the seventh largest country by area and the most populous democracy in the world, is on fast track to development and is scaling new heights in housing and housing finance sectors. While housing industry itself has shown exponential growth globally in recent years, steep rise in urban population has created a soaring demand for housing in India as well. However, meeting this growing demand is becoming a challenge, especially in the affordable housing segment. To meet this short supply of homes in India, the government has taken many initiatives, such as focusing on affordable housing through the 4 verticals of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. IIFL Home Finance Limited aligned itself with the Yojana and facilitated credit-linked subsidy to over 50,000 beneficiary households, also encouraging women. Other initiatives are also undertaken by the government to promote affordable housing in the country. While we make strides in making affordable housing available, it has a few drawbacks, such as overconsumption of energy and non-renewable resources. Which is why countering these adverse environmental impacts becomes all the more imperative. There are, however, a few hurdles in adopting green construction and buildings in India. Some from the developer fraternity dedicate themselves towards this crucial task by taking steps towards sustainable construction. Asian Development Bank and IIFL Home Finance Limited together endeavor to drive these green initiatives forward by developing green building certification guidelines and benchmarking standards in the Indian housing landscape. Asian Development Bank is helping provide technical assistance across 3 important elements to achieve this goal. The first element of the technical assistance is dedicated towards promotion of green affordable housing amongst stakeholders. IIFL Home Loans flagship platform, Kutum, is an initiative towards green affordable housing. Disha, a community building and sustainable living initiative, focuses on women and children of the household. Presenting Kutum, an initiative to make green affordable housing a reality in India by talking to developers, architects and influencers on one stage. The The other two elements of the technical assistance are capacity building for developers and housing brands and research and innovation for promoting cost-effective green technologies. IIFL Home Loans in-house sustainable experts, the Green Value Partners, assist developers in green certification and construction, and their efforts have made a considerable impact towards sustainability. IIFL Home Finance Limited, India's one of the fastest growing tech-enabled housing finance company, has an AUM of rupees 22,207 crores as on December 31st, 2021. This is just the start. It is a long way ahead to go to make green affordable housing a mainstream norm in the Indian housing industry. Asian Development Bank and IIFL Home Finance Limited have come together to make this vision a reality.
The video makes several references to the technical assistance activities that are underway in parallel to this loan project with IIFL Home Finance. So that is a very good segue for me to introduce now Mr. Shantanu Mitra, who's head of the Infrastructure and Urban Development section at the British High Commission in New Delhi. Shantanu's been working for many years in international development on economic and climate change issues, and has extensive experience working with the UK's Department of International Development, not in India, but also in several other countries in Asia. Shantanu, as many have mentioned earlier already, it's thanks to the UK's government's role as a principal funder for the UCCRTF, the Climate Change Fund that ADB is entrusted to manage. And it's thanks to that fund that we're able to provide the technical assistance for this project to support the ecosystem building activities for green housing in India. So I turn it over to you for your remarks, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Susan. I hope you can hear me, and good morning, everyone. And I'd like to firstly thank the ADB and IIFL for giving me the opportunity, inviting me to be here to represent, as Susan said, not only the UK government, but to represent the Urban Climate Change Resilience Trust Fund, to celebrate this important milestone in collaboration between ADB and IIFL Home Finance Limited. I'd like to just perhaps say a few words about the Urban Climate Change Resilience Trust Fund, or UCCRTF. This is a multi-donor trust fund of $150 million administered by the ADB. The UK, along with the Swiss government and the Rockefeller Foundation, contribute to the trust fund, which supports developing cities in Asia, across Asia, to reduce the risks from climate change, particularly for the poor and vulnerable. So we've been really proud to be associated from the very beginning in co-creating UCCRTF, and I would say that over the 8 years of its operation, it's really built up an impressive track record on the ground of innovative projects integrating climate resilience into urban planning and infrastructure investment. India is one of 8 priority countries for UCCRTF, and it's provided a number of support for a number of innovative projects. Just to mention a few, for the National Capital Region's regional planning, the Delhi Meerut Regional Rapid Transit System, smart water supply in West Bengal, an innovative, first of its kind flood forecasting and early warning system for Kolkata, and e-mobility and floating solar PV pilot in Visakhapatnam, as well as climate resilient urban development in Tamil Nadu, among other projects. So it's a range of impressive initiatives just in India. This particular project that we're witnessing the signing of the agreement on today, which is supporting access to affordable green housing for women, I think is particularly meaningful for UCCRTF because of the direct collaboration with private sector plays in the housing sector, a sector where the private sector's role is instrumental, of course, in creating new markets and building the required knowledge base. I think, as we've heard, in India, there's significant demand for affordable housing. More than 70% of residential buildings are yet to be constructed, which gives a tremendous opportunity and indeed an imperative to build in climate resilience into the design of housing. But I think, as we've heard as well already, there are a number of challenges to this, market failures, principal of these being a lack of awareness and a lack of adequately trained green building professionals and green products. So the UCCRTF Technical Assistance Program will address precisely these challenges and complement the ADB loan by raising awareness, building capacity of buyers, developers, policymakers, regulators, and construction companies to increase effective demand and supply for low-income groups, and particularly female-headed households. As I think some of the previous speakers have already said, this intervention is highly relevant not only to the challenge of climate change, but to COVID-19, which has highlighted the importance of interventions that support the resilience, livelihoods, and health of the urban poor in particular. The pandemic has greatly exacerbated pre-existing inequalities in India. Recent research has shown that the incomes of the poorest fifth of the population were 53% lower in 2021 than in 2015-16, a larger drop than any other income group. And the worst affected group were the urban poor. So it's clear that Indian cities need a recovery that's greener and healthier than the pre-COVID situation, with a renewed focus on the human development of the poorest groups. So really, this intervention is precisely what's needed to respond to challenges of the recovery from COVID. I'd just like to say a few words about the links between this initiative and the broader UK-India bilateral relationship. So this will contribute to a comprehensive strategic partnership between the UK and India, as set out in the 2030 roadmap agreed by our respective prime ministers just last year. This commits both countries to enhance our partnership for mutual prosperity and tackle global challenges, including climate change, development, and recovery from pandemic. And it includes specific commitments to collaborate on sustainable urbanization, climate adaptation, and a resilient infrastructure. I might just add that over the last few years, we have also been working on affordable housing through a bilateral partnership involving both investment capital and technical cooperation with the National Housing Bank. And we'll be very happy to share lessons from that program with ADB and the IIFL team. So in closing, let me just say it's great for me to be here today to witness the determination and enthusiasm for this initiative. And we're very much looking forward to hearing more and learning more from the stakeholders participating in the project. We very much hope the lessons learned can help cross-fertilize replications in other sectors and in other countries in Asia. I'll close there, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Shantanu. We look forward to following up also on the opportunity to learn from your work with NHB and the synergies that might be available there. I think I will turn it over now. We will continue the conversation on the technical assistance activities. I'll ask Dr. Sejal Patel to give her presentation. Sejal, we've given you a big challenge to present on behalf of CEPT University and CEPT Research and Development Foundation, the consultants who've been selected to run the capacity building research innovation activities for the TA in India. Your background in your urban development policy work is really key to trying to make some of the inroads that we hope to learn on how to build the market, but also how to make some policy recommendations that could have a more lasting effect on the green affordable housing ecosystem in India. So over to you for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. And I think I and my colleagues are, warm. Is my screen visible? Am I visible?
Yes.
I'm not able to see the screen, the PowerPoint screen. Okay, I can see it now. Thank you. I and my colleagues extend a warm thank you to all of you for inviting us to this signing ceremony. It's truly a historic ceremony, and we are deeply honored to be part of this occasion. Next slide, please. As you know, CEPT University is a premier habitat university in not only India but South Asia. And since its very inception in 1962, it has worked very closely with city, local, and state and national governments in capacity building and policy advocacy and planning initiatives. I am Sejal Patel. I am chair of the Master of Urban Housing Program, which is the flagship program of the STEPS University since 1987. And the focus of our program is on affordable housing, and we work very closely with Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, PMAY program, as well as grassroots organizations such as STI, Spark, MHT, SEVA, among others, in the rollout and also evaluation of our curriculum, as well as placement of our alumni in these programs. I'm joined by my colleagues, Professor Saswat Bandyopadhyay, who is also the founder and chair of the Infrastructure, Environment and Climate Change programs at the STEPS University, and done a lot of work in the urban development and capacity building sector in India. In our team, we also have Rajan Rawal, a senior professor and advisor to the CARBS Center for Advanced Research in Building Science and Energy, which has done some pioneering work in the domain area, not only in India, but globally. Next slide, please. The CRDF, through which two of the initiatives under the TA are being rolled out, is the Research and Advisory Foundation of the STEPS University, and it ensures the continuum of academics, research, and practice. There are two centers under CRDF, CUP, which is the Center for Urban Planning and Policy, and CARBC, which is the Center for Advanced Research and Building Science and Energy, through which the two sort of activities under the technical assistance are being rolled out. We are joined by the director of the CRDF, Darshan Parekh, and the executive directors of the two centers, Avnish Pendarkar and Yash Shukla, also today as part of this momentous occasion. Along with them, we also have team members from both the centers who are working very enthusiastically on the research and development of the course curriculum for the capacity building courses. Next, please. As you are aware, the technical assistance includes three packages. The first package focuses on promotional activities. A lot of this has been already discussed in the earlier top points. Promotional activities is rolled out by Gravity Concepts, and the scope of this particular activity is to really create knowledge and also do engagement with the key stakeholders through Kutum and Disha initiatives. And the idea is that the impact will be, a larger sort of awareness among all the stakeholders in resilient, climate resilient, affordable, and inclusive housing for women. The second initiative is the capacity building initiative, which is rolled out by the CRDF Center for Urban Planning and Policy. This is essentially going to focus on developing and delivering courses in two domain areas. One is the policy landscape for green and affordable housing, where the focus will be on convergence and reforms. And the second will be in the entire project cycle, where the focus will be on developing the courses on planning, design considerations, appraisal, implementation, and post-occupancy evaluation of such projects. The expected outcome here is an increased knowledge on both the policy as well as technical know-how among the range of stakeholders which have already been mapped out. The third and the most important aspect is the research and innovation. This is being rolled out by the Center for Advanced Research in Building Science and Energy. The focus here is to really questioning what is green and think of or propose a unified rating system that includes gender mainstreaming, housing affordability, as well as climate resilience within the rating systems. It also focuses on incubation of newer materials and technologies for green and affordable housing for women. With all of these three, there is a hope that with this will really lead towards building a more strong and strengthened ecosystem for enabling the green and affordable housing for women. We are very proud to be part of this initiative because this is the first such initiative where ADP is actually, associated with private sector in the country. And it strengthens the already ongoing formidable initiatives by IIFL, HFL in the sector since quite a few years. Next slide, please. Since the kickstart of the technical assistance in October through a kickstart workshop at SEPT, a lot of ground has been covered under all the three packages. The stakeholder engagement initiatives have been going on quite intensively through the Disha initiatives, where Gravity Concepts and the group from IFL, they reach out to women and other sort of participants to sort of create awareness about the significance of the green and affordable practices by the women, in such housing. And the Kutum initiative, also there was a Kutum which was already, which focused on the innovative finance and design, which was already kickstarted in Delhi in December 2010-21, and more such activities are also endowing in the year to come. Similarly, technical needs assessment workshop has been already undertaken by mapping of all the stakeholders for the capacity building initiative, and also the work is going on in the research and innovation activity. Next, please. This is very well-timed sort of initiative, and it's a very significant initiative. All the three activities which are undertaken by TA, and this is in the larger context in India right now, where it is very apparent that housing is predominantly privately provided and self-built, where they constitute the supplier build, private supplier build, or self-built housing in the tier 1 cities. In fact, constitute close to 80 to 90% of the total supply, and hence a focus on enabling them is very, very important. The second part is that though India is, in absolute number in terms of build space, is doing very well globally in contributing build space as what is certified as green. But in actual terms of the building stock, the certified stock includes is only 5%. And of that, there is only a small fragment of green and affordable housing certified projects. In fact, most of the projects so far have been facilitated by the Green Value Partners of IIFL, HFL. Affordable housing, if we look at that, it is something which has ticket prices ranging from 0.3 to 4.5 million under various initiatives of the federal and the state government, but it also constitutes a smaller fragment of the housing supply as against the huge demand. If we look at women and their access to housing and household agency, the latest National Family Health Survey shows 38.3% urban women own property either solely or jointly, and 81% own and operate their own bank account, which is really very encouraging. And it is this housing agency or household agency of the women which can be leveraged really to improve their access to further improve their access to property in land and housing. When we look at the green and affordable housing rating systems, interestingly, both the rating systems by IGBC and GRIHA were initiated only in 2017 with the announcement of the PMAY, but they are gender agnostic currently, and also they are evolving. It is very evident that research is needed to improve gender sensitive, climate resilient, and affordable design through the rating systems. Ecosystem of the affordable housing materials also and their technology are not available at the local level to facilitate the self-building or the self-constructed building. So given this background, it is apparent that ecosystem and policy framework for the convergence of this very pertinent and complex issue of green and affordable housing for women exists, but it is fragmented with gaps which need reforms. And it is in this context that this is very well timed.
Dr. Patel, I'm really sorry to jump in here. I'm just very conscious of the time because I know some of our participants need to leave in a few moments, and we need still to have some remarks on the agenda that are pending, including Mr. Jain, who's been patiently waiting. Could I ask, perhaps, in the interest of time, we will share the deck with the participants?
Sure.
I know that there's a lot of content still left to cover, but I know the time we have today is also very short to cover these dense topics. So I'm really sorry to interrupt.
No problem. No, that's fine.
But I do thank Mr. Jain for patiently waiting. Mr. Jain, you are the co-founder, chairman of the IIFL Group, parent company of IIFL Home Finance, and you have built this group from its inception now to serve over 4 million customers in India through your non-banking entities, through your wealth management and securities businesses also within the group. So we look forward to hearing from you how this project fits into the overall growth of your group and your vision. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne, and thanks to all the participants. So I also take this opportunity to thank ADB, co-financing partner, UK and Canadian governments, donor organizations for supporting IIFL Home Finance initiative to support economically weaker section and low-income group people to own their own homes, and also for construction of green and sustainable affordable houses for underprivileged sections of the society. I also would like to thank all senior executives and officials who are present here and who have worked to make this partnership fructify. See, in today's world, corporates cannot be only profit-oriented, but have to be socially responsible also. The businesses have to be cognizant of needs of the nation and the society as well. So as a group, as Suzanne, you just mentioned about our other parts of the group, we have been a leading player in driving financial inclusion, and that includes not only people to own their first home, also there are millions of people that we have supported for having their first MSME loan or a small business loan, or taking the first insurance policy for their families, or making first investment in mutual fund or stock market, and basically aspire for higher returns and build their wealth over a period of time. So coming back to IIFL Home Finance Company, we are committed to support the effort and initiative to finance affordable homes to underserved segments and also in underpenetrated geographies in India. Our low-income affordable housing loans are also predominantly to women, and that also basically goes towards meeting the social objective, not only of gender equity, but also promoting, trying to lift the bottom of the pyramid in a meaningful way. Obviously, this initiative will require to support developers who are constructing houses which are climate resilient, they reduce carbon emission, conserve water and energy. And in India, the challenge is more complicated because on one hand, you have to be environmentally sustainable, and at the same time, you have to keep the cost of construction low so that they become affordable for people who are our target customers. The number of initiatives we have taken, which many of them Monu has already enumerated, and the earlier speakers have already spoken about, so I won't take more time on that. I will only say that this is a long journey and it's a good beginning, a small first step, but a great beginning. And as IIFL Home Finance works to encourage other private organizations to come forward, I'm sure that this partnership will also encourage other multilateral organizations or funding institutions and development financial institutions to come forward and participate in this initiative to see how living standards at the bottom of the pyramid can be lifted by making them own a house, and that too without causing any damage to environment or climate. So we look forward to work together and strengthen our partnership over time to make a visible and measurable impact in this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jain. I'd ask Monu to come back on screen, please, and I will introduce Ms. Christine Engstrom. Christine is the Director for ADB's Private Sector Financial Institutions Division for Asia Pacific. It's Christine's division that's leading the design of this project. If Christine, you would like to make some remarks. I know you've met, fortunately, before COVID lockdowns hit, you were able to meet IIFL Home Finance in Delhi in their offices, and you've been seeing the journey of this project design throughout. Now we can finally sign the disbursement certificate. So I'd ask both you and Monu to come on screen, please, to do the honors.
Thank you. Hopefully you can hear me there. A few technical issues. Actually, my video has been stopped by the host. If you could turn that one back on for me, I would appreciate it. But in the interim, I just wanted to, first of all, congratulate everyone for their hard work. And we are so delighted to be partnering with IIFL, Mr. Jain, Monu, on this really meaningful project in a sector that's close to my heart. I'm a housing finance specialist over the years by training, so I'm really excited to be able to be here and to do the signing here. COVID-19 has made it definitely more challenging for the financial sector to access longer tenor financing, as we know. And that was on top of already difficulties before COVID-19 for NBFCs in particular to access long-term financing. So we are so pleased to be here to pull together a package of funding supported by the Canadian government and the British government as well to really provide a holistic solution to IIFL. And we are just really pleased to be partnering with you to support your mission of green finance for women and to be addressing this gender gap as well as then the climate finance gap. So congratulations to IIFL for your leadership in providing affordable access to housing for women and your leadership in green affordable housing in India. We really look forward to working with you in implementing this project, but also to be spreading the word and learning from your work and also showing our other clients in India and elsewhere how to replicate this vision of providing inclusive finance as well as green finance in the housing finance sector. So again, congratulations to IIFL, our co-financers, and especially my team, and then the team, the direct deal team on IIFL for working very hard to pull this project together. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Hopefully we will get the video on so we can at least see you before we finish the signing. But Monu, I don't know if you want to add any other words.
So, yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to say thank you so much, Christine and Susan, everybody. I'll also like to mention some key people at IFL who have also worked tirelessly. Ajay Jaiswal, who's been pretty relentless. So I had a special mention for him. And the new team, which is going to take over this TA part, which are very, very excited across the board to see that team, which is built up of Apoorv, of Madhvi, who heads that, and our entire GVP team, which is going to take this forward. As Christine rightly mentioned, we are just the torchbearers, and we're just going to light the spark. And I think, as they say, the more you know, the less you know. So I think the more deep you're going to go, the more we're going to realize that we don't know that. And I think that's that's how these things get progressed. So thank you so much, and very, very excited. And as I said, it's just a start, and we'll ensure that we do a reasonably meaningful job, and others can also follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Monu. Thank you, Christine. I think in the interest of time, we are running over, and I appreciate that the panelists have been able to stay on a few extra minutes. I would just ask, as a housekeeping matter, please, if you could wait to the end, we would just take a quick screenshot if you can turn your cameras on once we have our closing remarks. But I would like to introduce as our final speaker for today, Ms. Suzanne Gabouri, who's the Director General for ADB's Private Sector Operations Division. Suzanne, we're very lucky to have you at ADB now in heading the Private Sector Operations Department before you joined ADB in January last year. We know you bring a wealth of experience from other development finance institutions with FMO, the Dutch Development Bank, with FinDev, the Canadian Development Bank, and many years with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, also EBRD. So thank you for bringing that experience to ADB, and thank you for closing the ceremony today.
Thank you, Susan. If I could get my camera turned on as well, if you don't mind. Maybe while that is being sorted out, I'll start if you can hear me. Dear colleagues from IIFL, ADB, dignitaries from the governments of Canada and the UK, and everyone who's taken the time to join us, and many congratulations on this innovative projects, and greetings from Montreal. On the other side of the world, but I'm very happy to be here. This project plays a critical role in supporting several of ADB's strategic priorities. By focusing on access to affordable housing for low-income segments, the project addresses remaining poverty, our first operational priority. IIFL Home Finance has also agreed to undertake a gender action plan with ADB to mainstream gender within the company's operations even further, which I commend. I can also see all the efforts that IIFL Home Finance on serving women homeowners, as well as the focus on the fact that the technical assistance is placing on mainstreaming gender into the analysis of issues associated with scaling the green affordable housing ecosystem in India. All of these initiatives together constitute excellent examples of private company leadership in encouraging gender equality, which is another one of ADB's core strategic priorities. Lastly, but certainly not least, ADB has set ambitious targets for climate finance, including the recent announcement of ADB's elevated ambition to do $100 billion in climate financing between 2019 and 2030. In this regard, we are very pleased to be partnering with IIFL Home Finance, which is taking such a prominent role in tackling climate change and is building climate resilience into its financing of home housing and urban infrastructure development. The climate challenges we face together are daunting, and it takes outstanding leadership, such as that demonstrated by IIFL Home Finance, to develop models and to build a path for more contributions from the private sector to enhance environmental sustainability in India and in the region. This is ADB's first private sector project to address climate change through the green residential housing in the affordable housing segment. We look forward to working with IIFL Home Finance and the team of experts from CAPT under the technical assistance to further develop the green building ecosystem in India and to make this model that can be replicated in our other ADB's other developing member countries across Asia and the Pacific. Once again, congratulations to you all, and I look forward to hearing more about the results of this project as it develops. Thank you, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Suzanne. And if I could just ask all the panelists that are still on the line, if you could just turn your cameras on, we would take a group shot. If the cameras are still enabled. Are we able to get, Ron, I don't know if you're still online, able to turn on your camera. I'm just checking to see who we may still have. Okay. Well, I know that we have gone over time today, so maybe we'll just have to leave it at that. Thank you again so much for joining, and look forward to sharing more of the results from the project implementation with the participants today as they unfold. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.